Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at two offerings from Independence Games for the Rider game. These are New Liberty, Rider campaign setting, and Famous Characters of the Old West. These are really nice books. They are usable not only for a Rider for your cowboy setting. I've actually used this setting for Champions already. And you can absolutely use this for any 2-6 space game, and I'll explain all that as I go through the video. Also, quick reminder, please subscribe. Please take a look at Patreon, see if you can help out there. Existing subscribers and patrons, thank you. I could not do this channel without you guys. Also, real quick reminder, we are doing Jump Point 2 in Frankfort, Illinois at Amazing Fantasy, a great comic store and great game store. They've got both on a nice, huge open space that they very graciously are allowing us to use. All the information is in the link below. So please take a look. And if you are going, please leave a comment either in this video or the Jump Point video to let me know you're coming. I'm trying to get an accurate head count so we have an idea of what to expect. We're going to be playing AD&D First Edition and Mongoose Traveler Second Edition. I'll be running Mongoose Traveler Second. My son Adam's going to be running the AD&D. Both scenarios are going to be by me. Adam's perfectly capable of putting together a scenario on his own, but he's kind of busy with work right now, so I thought I'd go ahead and handle that for him. So please take a look, and if you're going to join us, that'd be fantastic. All the details are in the video link below. Back to the important stuff today. New Liberty for Rider, as well as Famous Characters of the Old West. Today on page 121. All right, we're going to take a look at two books for Rider today. Again, I want to thank the folks at Independence Games for sending these books my way. I really enjoyed these read-throughs. First, we're going to take a look at is Famous Characters of the Old West, saving New Liberty for last. Famous Characters of the Old West, written by John Watts, and is exactly what it says it is. It's famous characters from the American Old West. And there you go. You got a little bit of artwork there, and then you've got a breakdown of who all's in this book. This is based on real people that lived and were busy in the Old West. John Watts, I suspect, is a fan of cowboys. But then so am I, so it's all good. This book would be good for use in New Liberty with Rider, of course. These would be great NPCs to introduce, or player characters if your players really wanted to play one of these people. But also if you wanted to introduce it into a 2-6 outer space type game, like Clement Sector 3rd, there actually is a planet where it's kind of like a Westworld situation. You go there and you role play, and you can role play either with or against some of these famous characters of the Old West. So I kind of like that idea. William Curly Bill Brocious, Seth Bullock, Calamity Jane Canary. I'm not familiar with, I know it's Calamity Jane, of course. I'm not familiar with all the people that are out on this book. Robert Butch Cassidy Parker, of course. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, phenomenal film from 1969, Redford and Newman. Really enjoyed this. I liked hitting some of these. Ike Clanton, and you get a nice chunk of history along with each of these. They come with the various skills that they have. I just thought John did a really nice job in bringing these people to life for the role-playing game. William Buffalo Bill Cody. Dora Dufran. Was she the one that was yeah, she was a madam. She ran a brothel. I do remember reading about her. Wyatt Earp, of course. And the shootout at the OK Corral brought out in some detail here. Pat Garrett. And John Wesley Hardin. Don't know much about Mr. Hardin here. I know if I read the whole thing through, I would. Now, I'm going to tell the truth. I have not read this book cover to cover. I kind of skimmed it in preparation for this video. I am going to go back and read it, especially the folks that I don't know from the Old West. There's a good chance I do know something about them, just didn't realize it. James Butler, Wild Bill Hickok. There you go. John Henry Doc Holliday. Lots of info in here. Jesse James. Okay. Henry Sundance Kid Longabaugh. Again, from the Butch Cassidy name. Bartholomew Bat Masterson, the great old TV show when I was a kid. Henry McCarthy, also known as Billy the Kid. And let's see, Bass Reeves. Not really familiar with Mr. Reeves. Johnny Ringo, I've heard the name. I don't know a ton about his story. Cole Younger of the Younger Brothers. I do know about them. And then the Legalese. So you get 54 pages of good and bad folks from America's Old West. So just from an enjoyment point of view, absolutely fun read. And I am anxious to go through and read this in some detail. But like I said, in preparation for this, I only skimmed it. But one I did read is New Liberty. I enjoyed New Liberty. I had all kinds of ideas when I was reading New Liberty, and in fact just ran a Champions game set in New Liberty. Back in the mid-70s, the Avengers, for reasons, end up going back to the 1870s, to the Old West. Kang the Conqueror has a nefarious plan going on, and the Avengers go back in time to stop it. So I always liked that story arc, and I decided to do it with Champions, and I used New Liberty as my setting. So it's not just for a 2x6 cowboy game or space game. It can also work for the Champions role-playing game. I was confused when I read the credits here because I saw Ian Good had done the cover, which is great. Ian Stead did a whole bunch of these. Ian Stead, he does Starship layouts. What the heck? Well, it turns out that Ian Stead, nice artwork, nice table of contents as always. Ian Stead had, I'll get to it in a moment. We have the history of the city itself, New Liberty. I enjoyed the history. Ian Stead did a lot of the floor plans. There you go. So you have great floor plans in here for every building in and about New Liberty, which I really enjoyed. There's the New Liberty Church. Here's the floor plan for it. And some characters that are involved in the church. We even get their date of birth. We get how old they are. We get their stats. It's just, this is really well done. And again, we get the Shining Star Saloon. The saloon, of course, I like a good bar brawl in any game I run. That's where I started the Champions. That was the first place they went to reconnoiter on their mission, and a cowboy bar fight broke out, which one of my players really, really enjoyed. This also feels a lot like the old game Red Dead and Red Dead Redemption. Both my sons played that game a lot. I played it a little bit with them, but I know a bunch about it from being in the room when they were playing it. And the floor plans and everything else really reminded me of that game. So then we get the Elcor Palace. It's another saloon. It's a dance hall type place with the folks running it. And you get the power groups that are in town. The Dance Hall Girls. The Dirty Monarch. It's a brothel for the Soiled Doves. And there's the layout for it. First Bank of Liberty. And you get all the power groups. The evil rancher, the cattle baron. You get all the power groups. Who likes who hates who's enforcer, things like that. It's all brought out in this book. Very much ready to go for Rider, but it's also ready to go for your 2x6 space game. And I'm going to get to that in a moment because there's a part at the back of the book that shows that. So we got the New Liberty Hotel. Hotel, very important part of any good cowboy story. And then we get the upstairs and the downstairs. The Lucky 7 Casino. There we go. Who runs it? What kind of conflicts he runs into? Miss Esther's boarding house. Is Miss Esther a nice old lady or is she mean? There's the boarding house itself. Dolly's Fashion House. It's just a place to go buy clothes. Not much fashion here, but Dolly likes to think so. Harper's Stables and Corral. And there's Harper Andrews, the owner. Doc Beale's office. Gotta have a grizzled old Doc in this kind of game. Gunsmoke taught us that. Atchison General Store by Moses Atchison, the owner. He's 52 years old. Just really nice layout. Anything you're going to need, role-playing wise, you've got it in this book. You can run, like I say, if you want to run your cowboy role-playing, this absolutely, this would work with Boot Hill if you're still an advocate of that old TSR game. If you want to upgrade to Rider, which, by the way, I recommend. I read Boot Hill. I don't think I actually played Boot Hill. I've been trying to remember. One buddy of mine was really, really into it in the very early 80s. And it's entirely possible he ran a game. I don't truly recall. And unfortunately, the folks that were in that group, I've lost touch with. So I don't have anybody I can ask. And not even my wife, who was gaming with us at the time, she didn't play kind of the off brand games. So I don't know that she would know. I have to see if I can find any notes on it. But anyway, here we have the New Liberty Gazette and Telegraph Office. Very important parts, the communication hub of any Old West town. Dawson's Restaurant. New Liberty Schoolhouse. There you go. There's a place not too far from my house called the Little Red Schoolhouse. It's part of the forest preserves around this area, and it's an old schoolhouse from back in the around the turn of the 18th or 19th to the 20th century. It was a functioning schoolhouse. And it was a functioning schoolhouse, I believe, into the 50s. And it's been a museum since I was little. I remember going there when I was very little. And I've taken my wife and I have taken my boys there over the years, too. And in fact, my sons and I are due for a trip back out there soon. Sheriff Underwood's office. You've got to have the sheriff's office in the jail. How can you run a cowboy story without it? The stage station. Got to rob a stagecoach now and again. A train station. Got to rob a train now and again. Stanton Undertakers. Well, yeah, really important. And then, of course, a blacksmith. This was a fun read. I really enjoyed going through all the power groups and the ins and outs of who owned what and who did what in New Liberty. And the origin of New Liberty is really interesting. We got a whole family here. And then we get the various ranch hands. This guy's kind of your cattle baron. And additional backstories and writer notes. So you get all kind of, here's fanning is a skill when you are able to fan the back of your 6-shooter to make it fire faster. Fanning was definitely an art. Relationships and factions. Great vengeance and furious anger. Nice adventure for you. A couple of short adventures. And now, coming out of the adventures, lots of adventures, we get Clement Sector. Wait a minute, you can use this with Clement Sector? Absolutely you can. Science fiction game can be used with Clement Sector. Those who may be unfamiliar, there's a world in the Franklin subsector of Clement called Era. Era is located in Franklin 0304 and is a world geared toward bringing in tourism, and their method for doing so is that they have turned each of their continents into a different time period where, with the help of robots, cosplay, holograms, and a lot of work, visitors can spend time in one of Earth's historical periods. One of these places is Southern Territory, which is dedicated to the Wild West of the period of the U.S. history, and the centerpiece of that region is a recreation of New Liberty. I love instead of a stogie, chewing on a screw. Clement Sector would work beautifully with that. This book would work beautifully with Clement Sector, but this book would also work beautifully as its own town, as its own setting in any 2D6 space game, simply because, look at Firefly. A lot of Firefly is nothing but Old West, and a lot of these tech level 3, 4, 5 settlements would be like Old West setups. You could actually take this book and just transplant it right to any planet that you have and use the power groups that are in here just as they are, not have them be robots or cosplay, but have them be real people living on that planet. So this book has a lot of uses. Like I said, I used it for Champions. Worked real well. My players had a lot of fun. They really enjoyed being super powered and obviously more powered than anybody else there until, of course, they met my Kang doppelganger. He's Krang, by the way. I wasn't terribly original in my naming of him, but he's kind of a time hopper. And I was basing it on that Avengers story I was talking about. Avengers 141, 142, 143, for anybody who cares. It was in the mid-70s. So there you have it. There's a nice look at New Liberty and famous characters of the Old West, both from Independence Games. I believe that completes the run of the Rider books that are out so far. I know there are more coming. I know this is a favorite of John Watts. And John, good job as always. I enjoyed reading these. I'm enjoying using them in various games. So again, thank you, Independence Games, for sending these my way. I really appreciate it. And that's really all I've got to say. So if you like what you heard and saw, please like and subscribe to the channel, leave some comments below. And of course, don't forget about Jump Point 2 taking place in Frankfort, Illinois on August 20th. I hope to see you there. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on page 121.